the house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air, every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the metazone, lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise, together we inspire.
Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the Planet B podcast, The Goals Transformation. Dr. Rao, this is a very, very awesome episode. So please, if you don't mind, would you begin with the opening quote?
Yeah, it's a quote from Dr. Stephen Kaufman. He said, "Meaningful reforms are not possible until goals change." A goal of a system is what everyone is working towards accomplishing. And if the goals are misaligned, with nature, then you're going to create a system that goes against nature.
Right.
So I started off with the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. And any system is designed to meet certain goals. In fact, by definition, a system is an organized framework for accomplishing an objective. I started off with the UN Sustainable Development Goals because 195 nations have signed on to meet these goals by 2030. And when you look at the list of goals, they're all good goals. I said, hey, I would love to meet these goals. And I'd love to design systems that meet these goals. Okay. Then when you look through the goals, you realize that there is a Trojan horse of a goal that's been stuck in there that prevents us from ever meeting any of the other goals. And
Right.
that is goal number 8, okay, economic growth. And you ask the question, if you meet the other goals, like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, these are goals 1, 2, and 3. And quality education, goal 4. So if you meet all these goals, do you care that the economy is growing?
No.
Nobody cares, right? You met the goals. Those are the real goals that you were supposed to meet.
Right.
Okay? If you meet these goals, nobody cares that this economy is growing. So why is that goal there? It was snuck in there so that everybody is pretending to meet all the goals by just growing the economy. That's the game we are playing. Okay? We're all looking under that light, the street light, for the key. And so that goal is put in there to deceive us. So deception is built into the system, right? So I say, if you really want to meet these goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, if you're serious adults who are actually working to meet goals honestly, you have to drop goal number 8, number 1.
Right.
So that's part of the goals transformation. So meaningful reforms are not possible until goals change. The Sustainable Development Goals have been worked on for the last 10 years, and they're nowhere near eradicating hunger. Okay? Nowhere near eradicating poverty. Why? Because we have not been serious about it yet. So I say drop goal number 8 and replace it with goal number 18, which is Beyond Cruelty Foundation's goal number 18, which is zero animal exploitation. When you put that goal in there, suddenly all the other goals become easier to meet. Like the Beyond Cruelty Foundation website on SDG 18 has details on how adopting SDG 18 makes SDG 1 easier to meet, SDG 2 easier to meet, and so on. Down the line, they show you how it impacts every one of the other SDGs and make them all easier to meet. Now, that's a goal that we need to include. So that creates a vegan world, right? Because it's zero animal exploitation. That becomes now a new goal set that can be met by 2030 honestly. So instead of deception, it's about honesty. So I'm transforming, the goals to be in alignment with the values that we discussed in the last chapter.
Right.
So no more deception, honesty. And if you want to meet all the goals, talk to us engineers who know how to build projects, to create projects that meet goals. This is our job. This is what we normally do. So first of all, go to any nation that has already signed on to the Sustainable Development Goals and ask them, where is your engineering team for meeting the Sustainable Development Goals? How serious are you at meeting the Sustainable Development Goals? Are you running a con job? Is this a scam, to con people into thinking that our leaders are working on solving all these problems, when in reality they are not? I'm just asking for honesty and some seriousness in addressing a planetary scale problem when you are in danger of losing an entire living planet. because we are not honest about solving the problem.
Right.
Right?
At the beginning of the chapter, you say that you start with foundational myth on planet A: human well-being necessitates endless economic growth, which
Correct.
we just discussed. And then you follow it up with foundational truth on planet B: human well-being necessitates a sense of purpose larger than ourselves.
Correct. When you're part of a larger project, then everyone feels whole because they're part of something much bigger than themselves. That sense of purpose larger than ourselves is important for every human being to have that sense of belonging, because we are a social animal. We're not loners. We all want to be part of something much larger.
Yeah.
So I say that that's what this meeting the Sustainable Development Goals gives us, because you're meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and simultaneously reducing the planetary boundary transgressions. So you're bringing the planet's life support systems back to health. So it's as you meet the goals, which are mostly about human beings, about our society and creating well-being for us. You create well-being for animals, you create well-being for the planet.
Right.
So we go through one by one the Sustainable Development Goals, and I say most of the goals I will retain them. There's nothing wrong with them. Like no
Right.
poverty, right? You say SDG number 1, end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Who would argue
Yeah.
against that? This is, it's a goal that everyone wants.
Right.
And we can easily meet it. From a systems perspective, we want to meet SDG number 1, give everybody universal basic income. That's
Right.
it, right? It's done. The basic needs are met. But then you have to have a currency system that's redesigned for this purpose. It cannot be based on the old model of creating currency in the form of loans. So UBI, and then you have to meet the foundational needs of human beings: food, clothing, and shelter, so that everyone feels secure.
Yeah.
That is eradicating poverty.
Right. And then programs like food healers are very easily achievable to help accomplish a mission like that.
I mean, you're transforming a system. So, meaning you may start with implementing food healers in the current model itself, which you can do, because you're taking surpluses from people and creating an outlet for healthy food to be given away.
Right.
Okay? But then over time, that has to become normalized. That has to become the normal way of eating, right? It's rarely do you go out and eat in a restaurant for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
And this also leads to, so SDG number 1 is no poverty. So we discussed that a little bit. SDG, which stands for Sustainable Development Goal number 2, is zero hunger.
Correct. Yeah. So end hunger, end food scarcity, and achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. That's what the official definition is. And I claim this is one of the easiest goals to meet from a systems engineering perspective, because we have all the food we need to meet these goals, except if they are all being misallocated, misaligned. It's being sent to the animals instead of human beings, and there's tremendous waste in the system, because the system is all designed to make sure that the most exotic food is available to the richest person at any given time.
Right.
And so you see, high-end restaurants with lots and lots of menu items, and which means they have lots and lots of raw ingredients waiting just in case someone orders it, right? And if no one orders it, in 2 or 3 days, they throw it away because it's spoiled. So you create tremendous amounts of waste in the system, because the objective function is all about luxury indulgences and not basic nutrition. So
Dr. Rao, how much food gets wasted in this Planet A system from the grocery stores, from our own pantries, from the restaurants? How much food is getting wasted currently?
well, the global average is about one third.
That's incredible.
Yeah, one third of the food is being wasted, and 1/10 of human beings are going hungry. So do the math.
There's it. That's it right there. It's very
That's it.
simple.
Yeah. So you can clearly meet everyone's needs right there, right? Just by changing the objective function of the system.
Right.
So if no hunger, zero hunger is a true objective function, not luxury indulgences, we can meet it easily.
The stats prove the solution so easily.
But I'm not saying you can do it in the current model directly. You have to create systems around this.
Yes,
But that
right.
requires, changing the goals of the system, right? The goals transformation is important. If the goal is luxury indulgences, you get the system that you have today.
Hmm.
If the goal is universal nutrition, you can create a system for that.
All right.
If the goal is universal nutrition first, and then luxury indulgences second, we can also meet that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the food healer step. It's saying, I don't mind you going to five-star restaurants and eating, but make sure that everybody's fed basic nutrition.
Mm.
Okay? It's your responsibility. If you have a surplus, if you got lots and lots of money sitting in your bank, right? You have a surplus and you're storing it for a rainy day. What is this rainy day you're talking about? Right? The planet is dying around you. What are you deploying it for?
Right.
Right? To go to Mars? So, yeah, use that surplus, donate it to a temple, and let's get healthy meals to everybody.
All right. Wonderful. So let's go to SDG number 3, which is good health and well-being. How can we solve that?
Yeah. Good health and well-being, it's a whole system around it you have to create. I'll go into more details in the next chapter on self-transformation. But it's a self-transformation which comes from self-motivation first, that you want to do the transformation. But you have to have a system that enables you to meet those goals, right? So if you have a system that's constantly harassing you, telling you, you're less than who you are, and then it's impossible for you to have good health and well-being.
All right.
Right. So, and why does the system keep telling you that you're less than who you are? They want you to consume more. It's all about economic growth. And you don't consume if you're satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
if you're healthy and you don't want to, you're happy as is. So you have to be made unhappy. You have to be made wanting something. And that's when you consume more and more. So this is why the economic growth goal is such a Trojan horse. It makes it impossible for you to meet SDG number 3, good health and well-being. Because the growth model is saying, I need more diabetes patients. I need more heart disease patients. So the government is on the side of the corporations. And they are saying, okay, you want more diabetes patients and more heart disease patients? We will mandate that children have to drink dairy. Even though
Ridiculous.
there is plenty of scientific evidence that that's going to cause diabetes, that's going to cause heart disease. Why? So they're not interested in the well-being of the children. They're much more interested in the well-being of the corporations.
All right.
And how their profit can improve. Right? So this is why the system needs to change. The goals of the system needs to change for us to really accomplish SDG number 3, good health and well-being. But if you drop goal number 8 and add goal number 18, and you redesign systems around this new set of goals, we can meet SDG number 3. And so details about how to do that will be there in the next chapter, next episode.
Wonderful. So let's go into SDG number 4, which is quality education. And a lot of the parents out there that are sending their children to schools, they're not very happy with the current school system. So
Correct.
how
Yeah.
can we fix this, Dr. Rao?
Well, the schools are still stuck in the industrial age.
Yeah.
They are teaching children how to be good cogs in a machine. You know, you you actually are constantly testing children to see how obedient they are at
Mm,
following the rules, at following directions, and so on. And only those who are very good at following directions get promoted to more and more and more. So you get PhD because you were disciplined enough to go get a master's. You got a master's because you were disciplined enough to go get a bachelor's degree. And
all right.
the kids who were bored by all this, who really are very creative, they got dropped, right? They get less of a salary. So in essence, they're told, you're not worth it anymore for us to support. So we have created an education system that's funneling good industrial workers. So quality education is really about helping each one of us find our gifts, to hone our gifts, so that we can be very productive members in this collaborative that's healing the planet. So
Do you have like a vision of what a school or educational institution would look like on planet B?
yeah, it would be much more self-directed. So every child has access to lots of resources and they can choose what they want to go learn. And learning is a lifelong process. So education should not be just, you get educated and then you get certified and then you go get stuck in that job forever.
Mm,
That's not the model. The model is self-directed education. And of course, you get certifications for acquiring certain skills. And beyond that, it's you choose what other skills you want to get and how you want to contribute to the well-being of all. So it
yeah,
has
that's
to be
wonderful.
self-motivated and
Mm,
self-directed education.
okay, so let's go on to SDG number 5, which is gender equality.
Right. So achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. That's the objective of the UN, SDG number 5. And I say, let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
do it honestly. Okay, let's do it.
for
So,
sure. Yes.
yeah, yeah. Provide gender neutral opportunities for all to contribute to the well-being of the planet. So ultimately, the goal is the well-being of the planet, the well-being of all.
Mm.
Within that, everyone finds their role.
It's kind of interesting because if we want gender equality, we need equality. So if we're
Right.
exploiting animals, we're already creating a system that is creating the inequality.
Correct. Yeah. When we are exploiting animals, we are seeing them not as individuals, but as body parts.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you talk to feminists, that's exactly their complaint that they have about gender inequality. Women are being seen as body parts. So it's the same system. It's just objectifying the other,
Yeah.
whatever the other is. So it's the dominant class saying the subordinate class are all objectified. So gender equality is calling for equality across all human beings, regardless of gender identity. And that, once you grant equality across species identities, this is automatic.
All right.
Yeah,
SDG number 6 is clean water and sanitation.
correct. Yeah, so clean water and sanitation is really about creating closed cycles for human waste and making sure that the freshwater cycles of the planet are restored, because we have dammed the rivers and we have polluted the rivers with our runoffs from irrigation and so on. So when we go vegan and we restore forests, the freshwater cycles of the planet starts getting cleaned up again. We start getting restored again. And then we have to start undamming some of the rivers, returning water systems back to nature. Why? Because we have found other ways to tap energy. We don't really need to dam rivers anymore. As you restore forests, you will discover that there is fresh water available to you closer and closer. So you don't need to dam rivers and create artificial lakes and then have aqueducts, get water from there to wherever you're living. So you'll bring back the water table underground, so you can start using that. So it's repairing the water cycles of the planet.
Sorry, that goes right into SDG number 7, which is the affordable and clean energy.
Correct, yeah. SDG number 7 is to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. Now, Donella Meadows, in her analysis, had said that 99% of human activities today are unnecessary and wasteful. Okay. I don't know if it is that bad. She's saying only 1% of our activities are useful. But it is clear that once we transition to planet B, the amount of energy we need for human activities is going to decrease by an order of magnitude. Okay. And that energy can be supplied very easily by renewable energy and batteries for storing energy and making it available all day round. Because it's not such a big energy need. Okay? The amount of energy we waste is incredible because we are constantly trying to grow the economy. We're
Right.
constantly manufacturing more and more wants unnecessarily.
Yep.
So when you no longer have to do that and we are tapping into the Earth's energy sources for what we really need, we will discover that it automatically shrinks the energy infrastructure that we need.
It makes an incredible amount of sense. So SDG number 8, I think we've covered this and we'll continue to cover this, but zero animal exploitation.
Yeah, that's SDG number 18. And so drop SDG number 8 and replace it with SDG number 18.
Right.
That ensures that all animals, including humans, are not exploited for human purposes. As technology has rendered obsolete the necessity for animal use. We don't need to use animals for any purpose whatsoever.
So SDG number 9 is industry, innovation, and infrastructure.
Right, yeah. Build resilient infrastructure, promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. That's the official definition in the UN. And basically, it is to restore and stabilize the life support systems of the planet. Whatever industries we need to accomplish that objective, we need to foster those. And anything that was for luxury indulgences will slowly come into disuse because you don't need that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, in planet B, we will have what we need, so we wouldn't want so much as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And once we change our values, core values transformation, and we also heal ourselves, the self-transformation happens. A lot of this economy that has grown to be that big, that's causing such a huge impact on the planet, will automatically shrink because you don't need so much.
Wonderful. So SDG number 10 is reduce inequalities.
Right. Reduce inequalities within and among communities, which is making sure that every community has access to the adequate resources. When you think of an engineering project, this is one of the first things that we normally do, is making sure that every team member feels like they have everything they need, that they feel like they are treated fairly. Okay. Otherwise, the team won't function well.
All right.
So if you want humanity to function well, to create this life force that is restoring the planet, we have to have a system where everyone feels like they're treated fairly. I mean, any corporation, you ask them, any engineering team that they have formed that has been successful had this characteristic in them.
SDG number 11 is sustainable cities and communities.
Make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Now, why are there cities today? Today, the overall objective is people congregate in cities to pool resources together, pool their intellectual abilities together to figure out how best to extract from the planet. we will still congregate in the climate healing phase, but we are congregating together to figure out how to restore the planet,
Mm-hmm.
not how to extract from the planet. So I don't think you need such big cities anymore. There'll be more people spread out because you're restoring locally the ecosystems of the planet. And you have to monitor the life support systems of the planet and make sure that they're all going in the right direction. So I think cities will kind of morph on their own
Mm,
because you won't need to figure out how to make things bigger and bigger and bigger, which is what we are doing
right.
today.
Yeah. So SDG number 12 is responsible consumption and production.
Correct. Yeah. Which comes automatically once you change the values and you change the system to meet those values. So ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns. There is a lot of re-education that needs to happen for that. For instance, I'm speaking to chemical engineers, telling them, look, we've had an era for the last 100 years or so where you are allowed to cook up any chemical you want and put it out there because we assumed that the earth was an infinite source for resources and infinite sink for waste. That's what the education system was based on. And now we know that we are pouring 220 billion tons of toxic chemicals into the environment every year. That's the equivalent
My
of
goodness.
30 elephants per person per year. And the earth cannot sustain that. So this is one of the planetary boundary transgressions that is high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet, which means you have to have a responsible design of systems that minimize the production of toxic chemicals that can be poured into the environment. And corporations have to be made to pay for it. If you pour something,
Mm,
you have to factor that into your costs. So this
right.
is how you have to try and minimize the amount of chemical pollution that we pour into the environment. So that's responsible consumption and production.
The
Yeah.
next three kind of go together, so I'll just list them all. So
Yeah.
SDG number 13 is climate action.
Mhm.
SDG number 14 is life below water. And SDG number 15 is life on land.
Correct. And it turns out that climate action that resolves climate change, that heals the climate, will also restore life below water and restore life on land, because you have to first eliminate animal agriculture. So that's the first step that we need to do in climate action. That has to be done urgently, and then the fossil fuel use can be reduced in a nuanced fashion. That's how you deal with the Faustian bargain of fossil fuels. So this is why these three goals are all connected together. So
Right.
take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, simultaneously conserve and restore the oceans, rivers, and marine life, and then conserve and restore native ecosystems, combat desertification, halt and reverse land degradation, halt and reverse biodiversity loss. So all of these are together as one.
So SDG number 16 is peace, justice, and strong institutions.
Right. So peace, justice, and strong institutions, not peace at the barrel of a gun. We need to center true wisdom in institutions and build inclusive societies with justice for all. So it has to be also multi-species justice in the institutions. So you have to rethink our entire judicial systems. Okay? Because currently our judicial systems, our governance systems are all based on rights and enforcing rights. Okay. So you assert a right, and then the role of the government and governance is to ensure that that right is protected. I think the emphasis should change towards fulfilling responsibilities, not acquiring rights. Because we are giving rights to each other, and then we are saying, okay, the animals don't have rights, or they have some rights, but not all rights. No,
Right.
you have a responsibility to the rest of life that we are trying to fulfill. So that's our overall objective. Within that, you say, how do you fulfill those responsibilities? How do you manage that? And so the true purpose of governance is to protect and cultivate the health and vitality of the planet and all
Mm.
its inhabitants for generations to come. Okay? That's what Dr. Shelley Ostroff said, the true purpose of governance. And I'm saying that is absolutely right. And to meet that, your governance should be about fulfilling responsibilities, not about asserting rights.
Correct. Yeah. Final one, SDG number 17 is partnership for the goals.
Yeah, strengthen the partnership across all boundaries, whether it's between, with indigenous communities or with different nations, or different species. Strengthen partnerships
Yeah.
for meeting these goals. And think of it as a joint project with all the animals of the world. Okay? Restoring the planet. It's a joint project with all of them, not just human beings. I mean, we are the ones who destroyed a lot of it. And so we have a responsibility now to repair it. But they are helping us. You have to see
Yeah.
how to bring them back so that they can help us. So that's the kind of partnership, multi-species partnership that I want to talk about in SDG number 17. So all
Right.
the SDGs are valid, okay, except for goal number 8, with slight modifications in the interpretation. So I say, let's meet the SDGs because you all signed to meet it. Okay, all of them signed it. And I'm just coming along saying, is there anyone here who's serious about what they signed? And I'm here to help you if you're serious about it.
Yeah.
Because we can form an engineering team to meet the SDGs and we can do it formally, professionally, because engineers know how to meet objectives.
Right. Right. Maybe this is a little bit of a challenge, but
Mm.
something interesting, I think. So if someone who's watching this podcast is speaking to someone and this person that they're speaking to is really about these sustainable development goals, how
Mhm.
can we communicate to them in one or two sentences how ending animal exploitation would fix all sustainable development goals?
Ending animal exploitation will put us in the right framework for fixing all the sustainable development goals. It won't automatically do it, but it will give you the opportunity to meet all the goals. But without doing that, you'll be stuck in the old model and you cannot possibly meet any of the goals. So there is a lack of seriousness when you say you're going to meet all the goals and simultaneously serve animal foods in conferences.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it shows a lack of seriousness. So I'm saying let us be serious about it, okay? The planet is dying in front of our eyes. Can we just get serious about solving the problem? And if you are, contact me and I'm happy to help. And I have lots of systems engineers, lots of other engineers who are willing to help. Okay. If there is a serious project for doing this.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Just like what happened, I used the analogy of the Delhi Metro versus the Kolkata Metro. The
Mm.
Kolkata Metro was a mess. It was basically only, I think even today it has only 2 lines, one going north-south, one going east-west. But the Delhi Metro is now bigger than the London Underground in extent. It carries 50% more people than the London Underground. And everything works like a charm. And it was started in 1990s. And how did that happen so quickly? Because the engineers were allowed to do the project.
Right.
Okay, without interference. They were given an objective and given resources and said, go do it. And they did it. So I said, there are lots of engineers who are right now interested in helping create these systems. These are all systems that need to be designed and implemented and has to be done with engineering integrity.
All right. Awesome. So as we wrap up chapter 21, the goals transformation, is there any final message you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm looking forward to implementing these goals seriously. Okay? And I'm looking forward to the day when the world gets serious about this, as opposed to just, pretending to do it.
Right. And I think it's interesting too that if anyone is in communication with people who are interested in fixing the sustainable development goals, that you have written extensively on this. So it would be a good step to get them in touch with you. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rao. And We hope people will join us once again for our next episode, which will be chapter 22, the self-transformation. So thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where we don't need to harm to thrive. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
Oh, you have a question? Go for it. You're muted.
Oh, that's just a technical issue. Okay, I have two questions. One is about food and one is about cities.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to have a math professor named Dr. Tarab, and he worked at the United Nations before he taught school in this small university. And what he did was he did the logistics for getting food from one place to another. And I don't know, it must have been organizations that were creating food. But that was a very difficult job, he said, because you have food spoilage. You have so much. And so I'm thinking it's really going to take some engineers to figure out how to get, especially if we want healthy food and not processed food that lasts for 10 years in a jar or something.
Right.
So that's one of the questions.
Yeah. When was this? When were you talking
This
about?
was in the late 70s or 80s.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now the technology has improved so that you can get food. You can freeze it during transportation, or cool down the temperature during transportation so it doesn't spoil as quickly. So we figured out ways to transport food and not have so much spoilage. Most of the waste that's happening is not because of spoilage. It's because of spoilage, because we are trying to get a lot of options to people. Right. And also people don't want, apples that look a little strange or vegetables that look a little strange. No one buys that. So you get a mountain of waste because of that.
Okay. Well,
Because
technology
everybody
has
wants,
changed.
yeah, technology has changed. So, and also if we are compassionate towards produce and we don't mind produce of different sizes, strange looking produce, because we are cooking it all together, and we can also cut down on the waste a lot.
Okay. Thank you. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
And the other question is about cities, because it may have been the man named Jim who was the CEO of a clothing place who has a newsletter whose last name I can't remember. But anyway, he writes about cities. And cities take up space this way, whereas if every one of those people had a plot of land, that's going to take up so much land. And so I'm thinking you're thinking about it gradually going. But right now we have people who are high on, oh, I'm going to go get me some land. And they clear everything. My cousin has done it. Another cousin has done it. They clear everything, and then they go, oh, I'm not going to do this, and they move. Or
Right.
maybe one cousin is actually still doing it. But the point is,
Why
if
are they clearing the land?
so they can grow stuff,
Hmm.
and because it's fun to clear things. I think I don't know.
Right.
They showed me
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah. No, um, I hear you that in cities we have vertical structures for people to live in, and if you spread out, you won't have that. But you also don't need thousands of square feet per person. Like if you look at the average house size of the United States, it's also getting obese over time, compared to what we were in the 60s and 50s, right? It's not like we all suddenly need a lot more space, but it's just it's the growth mindset. It says, okay, I need to keep growing something. Need to grow also the houses. And because, then you're selling more timber. So when we get over that necessity, we should be fine in terms of space usage. Now, I had this thought experiment. I actually did a calculation of the thought experiment was all 8 billion human beings come to one place and do a group hug. How much space would we need to do that? Right? Oh, Brittany's in
Let's
there.
get some guesses in the chat.
Yeah, and my calculation was a little bit slightly bigger than Phoenix is enough. Maybe double the size of Phoenix is enough to do that.
Yeah, amazing.
So we don't take that much space as we think,
Okay.
right? And of course, we're not going to be doing group hugs all the time. So, but 1% of the land area of the planet is much bigger than Phoenix, which is what we use today.
So small groups serving each other, but not little lots of acres per family.
Correct. It's not for, it's not, the purpose is different, right? So it's all based on the purpose, is what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Deepak?
So we use a lot of AI these days, even inside climate healers. So the question around AI is it's a twofold question. One question is that with AI getting sentence, and like we were talking about equal rights to all beings, to all species. So if animals getting a voice, will that help? That's beside point that it will cause some problems for pet parents, right? That's some parents doesn't want to live. No, that's one question, and then then other question about cities that keeps coming up with. Uh, if AI is decentralized, because I think a lot of decentralization is needed because we evolved to be in small groups, 20, maybe 100 at the max. And
Hmm.
now we are living in cities in tens of millions of people. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
About AI? How does AI come into that?
I mean, with decentralization, we will be
Hmm.
with rewilding, right? We will. I'm guessing AI will give us some sort of way to get out of our this because of jobs, right? That okay,
Mhm.
jobs are there in certain cities, but
Right.
maybe AI can give us freedom in some way to move out of that centralized structure.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I didn't get your question about how AI is involved in this.
So AI is just to give us this freedom, so we don't have
Direction.
to
Okay.
like
Mhm.
because right now people are stuck in this current economic system. Again, it comes down to this scarce system. Okay, we have to move to cities where jobs exist. So that's
Right.
kind of yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a jobs-based model for economic
Yeah.
activity. Yeah. So we'll talk about that in chapter 29. In fact, I just finished talking to Mike about that.
Okay.
Tammy?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Um, I have my beautiful friend Denise here. She's going to help with the food book, bring her into our
Right.
community, a grandmother. Um, you know, the one thing that I think about a lot is this is a spiritual transformation.
Hmm.
And as we become more spiritually aligned, we just automatically connect deeper with the earth. And our food supply is really, it seems like it would be really easy and local to find. Like, you know, how we remember the food that's given to us by the earth naturally. Like all of our greens in the spring should be dandelion leaves and plantain and chickweed. I mean, we don't need to go buy lettuce from California in
Right.
Canada. And we become more connected, and really a big plate of greens like that sustains us when we stop, when we, in this new economy, the sustainability goals naturally happen because we connect deep with the earth, and we become like this really beautiful microbial rich being of light. You know, like literally our microbiome is so healthy that we're just lighting everything up because that's where we get a lot of our. So we're eating from really, really nutrient dense soil, and we know how, and so the food that sustains us, the wild food especially, is very satisfying. Like the brain doesn't necessarily shut off the hunger signals from calories. That's what they've discovered, but it's from nutrient dense food.
Right.
So spirulina in this new world will go a far way. Captain Paul Watson says he uses it as one of the main proteins when they're on a long trip at sea. So I think that nutrient dense sustainability, a lot of the really nutrient dense food, it doesn't really, is like readily available and doesn't have hardly any imprint.
Transportation costs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I hear you. Like I think Russell Mars, who wrote a book on nutrition, Dr. Russell Mars, is a naturopath. And he said we are eating maybe 0.1% of the edible foods that are available to us. Maybe even less than that, he said. Because we have been funneled into thinking that's what you eat. This is it. You don't eat any of the other stuff. You know, that's for cows to eat or whatever. But they are edible to us too.
Right. And just one more thing on that, because I'm super passionate about this. And you know, really with the price of food costs, this is what I would love to see as part of the grandmother's campaign, is to teach people how to not just, like you talked about, bulk cooking, making a big, but having fresh food in the winter in other climates where people think, you know, they can't grow fresh food on their land, but you can always be sprouting. And from a little bag of broccoli seeds, you can have fresh greens for like weeks, or mung beans, or whatever you're sprouting, and they're living food until you eat them. So it's so nutrient dense
Right.
and so available and so easy that I think this is some of the wisdom that should be in all of our kitchens that has been lost, and very sustainable.
Right.
Thank you for letting me share.
Good point. Thank you, Dan. Toby?
Oh, what have I done?
You're on.
Oh, I can't. Oh, there we go. Hello again. Another great episode. I was wondering who is representing this idea of looking at the SDGs in a different way and taking out the SDG 8. They're the countries that are signed on.
No one is signed on to that.
No one's signed on. No one's signed on to
Yeah.
the SDGs that are being currently seen.
Right.
How are we going to be able to get through and present this idea to them when
Right.
if you're talking to scientists or influencers, you know, with scientists with the channels who talk about climate or whatever, they don't want to talk about the actual main reason of climate change, which is really strange. You know, whenever I talk to them, they don't want to listen to you, maybe because they're getting funds from people who's the where their money comes from? I'm not sure. How do you think you're able to get through to them?
Well, see, the economic growth, uh, growing everything by 3% per year or whatever it is, is sort of in the ether. It's built into the system. You assume that it's unreasonable to think of anything that doesn't grow,
Mm.
right? So it's outside the realm of possibility in the system. So I use the analogy of Václav Havel had a famous essay in the 70s where he wrote about the shopkeeper who always, every morning, when he opens the shop, he puts a sign outside saying, "Workers of the world unite." And he was in Czechoslovakia when this was happening. And he says, does he even really want that to happen? I mean, why is he doing that? He's doing that because everybody expects him to do that. Because that's the slogan that
Right.
Czechoslovakia, that's what the rulers wanted everybody to buy into, right? And so he didn't really mean it. He didn't, even think about it, but he did it because it's meant to be like that. That's the way it's always been. And economic growth is one of those things. It's meant to be like that. It's always been like that. So, I listen to otherwise reasonable people talk about economic growth. They're saying other reasonable things, but then when they say economic growth, it's like, yeah, the growth has to happen over and over, right? And it's like it's built into our minds that everything needs to grow forever. And so to me, it's like that workers of the world unite.
Mm.
The equivalent to that for this era. We just mindlessly do it. Why? Because the currency system forces us to do it.
Right.
Right? And the entire currency system architecture is dependent on growth. Yeah.
Because people who back economic growth, they like the idea of the opposite of these SDGs. They like the idea there's hunger and poverty and all sorts of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how you can even think like that. You must be really sad, to go to bed at night. You must want to cry all the time. It's horrible. I have another question. When I did a presentation to a couple of my friends, and they said they would look up what it is I'm talking about, which, you want to really, it made me think, is the science I'm presenting, do they understand how valid it is? Like how do you get across to people this information I'm showing and where it's coming from, the data and everything is the best you're able to get your hands on? Why would people even believe that is the way it is? You know what I mean? Like how can I say, like, the IPCC's data is corrupt, but the raw data is like the best we can get? Like it's hard for people to believe in stuff, but because there's lots of pseudoscience out there. Why are people to believe that this IPCC's data that we use a lot of is not pseudoscience and true?
Well, there is a lot of satellite data available for us to look at. And you can see how things are getting browner and browner. So, I mean, it's the data is there if you want to see it. If you want to look for it, it's there. The raw data is there. Now, some people claim that everything is manipulated and doctored and made to look like that. That would require conspiracy of millions of people involved. And that I don't believe that. See, I begin with the assumption that everyone is trying to do their best, but in their narrow domain. Okay. Until someone proves to me they're not doing their best, then I take their data out and look at the rest. So when you do that's how I try to arrive at what I think is closer and closer to the truth that we can design things around.
Yeah.
And there are multiple ways of answering a question because there are multiple data sets available for you. And I look for consistency in that.
Mm.
It's consistent. The more consistent it is, the more likely it's correct.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if it's inconsistent, then I ask, who is more likely to be fudging the data? And then I put a fudge factor on their data to make it correspond. And it's okay, that's the fudge factor you need. So this is basically the kind of process we go through as engineers to solve problems. Okay. So I have, in fact, my brother is really good at doing that. And I've asked him to look into the animal agriculture data because he finds every little nuance where they messed it up and how they messed it up. He'll figure it out.
All right.
Anyway, I've unleashed him on it.
Oh, good.
We'll see what happens.
You do see a lot of, like, for instance, if I go out to a bar or restaurant or something, I like it when it's not full of people, and it's like, you can talk to people, it's not really loud and noisy, and it's a bit more space and you can breathe. People like to go when it's packed, it's full of people, jam-packed, people want to go there. This is the place to go because it's full of people. And that drives me mad. I can't deal with it. I want to go to a nice, peaceful place and I can hear you, I can talk properly. And today we seem to live in a world where people, they want to do the opposite of what they really want, they should be doing. We want to be able to talk nicely and have a good conversation, not feel like you got a headache the next morning, or like people believing the earth is flat. People say there's more flat earthers than vegans in the world. Is that true? I don't know. But
they're scared to fall off the edge.
Yeah. Well, they got a big ice dome apparently, so they won't fall off. Anyway, I'll let Ray get on.
Yeah.
Cheers.
No, it takes all kinds, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I know vegans who are flat earthers too. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has to arrive at the truth in their own way.
As long as we're kind.
Sorry?
As long as we're kind and compassionate to each other,
Yeah.
That's all that really matters.
Right. Yeah. Ray?
Hey, Sailesh.
Hello there.
The SDGs are, such a great way to identify all the things that humanity needs to do. Yet all these collections of things, while they're solving all the problems of the world, inevitably become the silos that divide all these different topics and allow every expert to go, well, this is my thing, this is my thing. And I've been, as you're talking about them, I'm like, hey, that reminds me of that thing in Project Drawdown. That problem connects with that solution, hunger versus food waste. There isn't precisely a food waste sustainable development goal, but there is one in this other organization. And there's the planetary boundaries, and they're also kind of all the problems we have, but you can silo each of them and just concentrate one or the other. And when these silos break down, as you have done, animal agriculture is enemy number one for all of them. And it's just the most inconvenient truth to all of the groups that have created these solutions and silos.
Right.
And these are for organizations to do. What do organizations need to address? They need to focus on something and solve this problem or that problem. And we come to these things and you present all of these to us, and our ultimate goal isn't to solve one of these. It's to decide what Christians, I'll borrow this from the Christian theology. How then shall we live? Right? That's a question that is often asked in religions and isn't asked in science. How then shall we live? And you are connecting the spiritual to the science. So I think that you're very central to these conversations, and I hope people are going to grow onto this, very rapidly in 2026. This is our year.
This is our year, absolutely. I feel it. And that's a very good question. I'd say that's a good way to pose the question, even in scientific circles. Say, here are these transgressions. Here is how we are using the earth. Then how then shall we live? Right? How then shall we live? It's a good, because given all the chemical pollution, would you still consume that? It's a good way to actually bring them along.
There's a running conversation through every environmental movement that is precisely undermining how then shall we live. Who cares if you change your light bulbs or not? It's so small, it's so insignificant. We need you to sign this petition to get these policies. So if policies is everything, then how then shall we live is only fight for the policies. And that's what we've seen in the environmental movement.
Right.
350.org considers themselves a grassroots movement. Sorry, guys. You don't tell people how they should behave other than we need to fight for these top-down changes. So it's a grassroots movement for top-down change. And they don't see it. They don't understand it. They don't understand the limitations. What they're doing is absolutely necessary. But at the end of the day, when you say, so big deal, you're vegan. You think you're doing such great things for the environment. There's this attitude, and it's contagious amongst people who would rather point at a coal plant and say, shut that down. But every time you're pointing at something, there's three fingers pointed back at you. What are you doing about it? Are you walking the walk? Even if your contributions on a carbon calculator aren't significant, how you behave, how then shall you live, is so relevant.
Yeah.
You drive a Tesla, good for you. I mean, you're doing something that walks the walk, but then it ends there. What's happening in your fridge? Well, how do you shop? And then there's like a cultural movement of resist veganism. And I wrote in the chat a little bit of a diatribe about the biases. Vegan biases are out there. They're transparent. Everybody knows what they are. Anybody who's non-vegan is sensitive. It is vegan, just wants to save their animal friends. Their data is probably corrupt and biased, and they're totally lying to us.
Right.
Whereas even vegans are like, I can't talk about my veganism in an environmental collection because everybody's going to turn the full heat of their vegan agenda on me. They're going to accuse me of vegan agenda, if not verbally, in their minds. But ultimately, we need that's going to be the sign that the world is changing when we're able to say, then how then shall we live in a place where they're looking for policies.
You gave me a great idea, because the country footprint map.
Which one?
The country footprint calculations that says that the country overshoot day.
Oh, yeah.
Earth overshoot. Yeah.
Yeah, country overshoot days, right? So it says overshoot for US is March 10th, and for Canada is whatever, June something. So that tells a country that if every country consumed like you would overshoot by March 10th.
Yeah. There's also the one that the World Wildlife Fund did. It was part of their report, what's the WWF report that you base the extinction rates on. They had a graphic one year that compared if everybody in the world ate like Americans, we would need 4 Earths. If everybody ate like Malaysians, which was kind of middle meat consumption, we'd still need 2.49 Earths.
So, right. That comes from the country overshoot days.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's just taking the same data and converting it to number of Earths. And
Right.
I
So
was
even
I was thinking that just as we do that for countries, we can do that for individuals.
Yeah.
So if you have individuals say, what their lifestyle is, and you can say you are living a 4 Earth lifestyle or 3.7 Earth lifestyle. So it's no longer now, you don't have an impact. No, you are having an impact. If everybody lived like you, we would need so many Earths.
And
Because that's
it's
similar to what
kind
they
of
do with
instructive.
countries.
That way of presenting the information is very instructive. That even a reduction, even the Eat Lancet report, which says, "Hey, everybody," they don't say this specifically, but they may say, "Hey, stop eating like Americans, eat like Malaysians." Malaysians, as eating the Malaysian diet across the world is still 2.5 Earths.
Right.
So, is veganism enough? Is the question. Veganism has to immediately become the baseline, because we don't even know if that will get us down to 1 Earth.
Well, yeah,
I think
that's the point. Yeah, we know that it's going to release land. Is that enough? I don't know. This is why I say go 100% vegan, because this is an emergency. It's not, how much of the fire can we let continue burn? No, you have to put out the fire.
The way too simplistic math that I just did was that Malaysia is 2.5 Earths, and they are in the middle of the range of meat consumption. So if you can get down 2.5 Earths is at least close to 1. But even just eliminating it, there's a question about whether you get all the way down to 0. But veganism is the mindset that we need to solve all the other problems as well. It's not just this kind of math.
Right. But again, the footprint calculation does not include opportunity cost. Okay. So you'll get dividends when you go vegan. So that's not being counted right now. And so once we take that into account, but then you've lost a lot of species. So we don't know if how many holes we're going to find when we start restoring ecosystems. And how do we patch those holes? We don't know.
Are you hopeful that the silos from these different organizations like Drawdown are breaking down? Because I think Drawdown is a really good example of an organization that really understands the silos. They have broken and the planetary boundaries are saying, hey, it's not just about climate change. It's not just about renewable energy. Look at this. And we have these great diagrams that illustrate them.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of donut economics, which incorporates them together. You have the planetary boundaries on the outside. Do they ever talk about the sustainable development goals? There needs to be development still. So now they've got them together in the donut economics, and incorporating economics into it is brilliant as well, because you can't make the news with the environment the way that you can with economics.
Right.
Everybody should care. I mean, everybody should care about everything, but you can get people on board with saying, how do we fix the world's economy? Even though it's a man-made, anthropocentric thing that is all the obstacles against the environment.
Right. So I'm beginning from an engineering perspective. I'm saying these are human-engineered systems that are causing conflict with the life support systems. And anything that's human-engineered can be changed. You can re-engineer them to make them come into alignment so that they are not in conflict. And then we'll see if we have gone past the point of no return or not. Hopefully, with divine grace, we haven't.
And economics needs engineering too.
Right.
It just gets way more politics.
Right. Yeah, we need to get the politics out and let the engineers and the economists work together to solve the problem.
Thank you.
Brown?
Yes, my question comes down what you discussed with Ray about that we have that the individual has to change. On the other hand, you see also that if you have a few important people or significant people to change, that you can change the system. Like Gandhi, for instance, the British Empire, and in
Right.
South Africa the same. And so it's matter where we should, which people we should address.
We should
What would
target.
be
Yeah.
primary people, which are like Gus Spade maybe, people who
Right.
have an influence on the world.
Right.
So how do you think we can do that? Is it, you are already starting with the 15 people or so here in the group now.
Right.
That's,
Right.
that is very important, I think, to start.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's just the beginning. We're going to have the podcast and on Spotify, and it'll go to a lot of other people. So it's just we have to do we had already. I think the team is doing a great job on the podcast, on producing it, and so I'm confident that it's going to spread. And I'm also working on a guide now. That's what I'm writing now, a guide to this Planet B. So all the details. And I go into why it's a full spectrum transformation. It cannot be done by just one aspect of it. Everything needs to change. And everything is connected.
Yeah.
So it's like multidimensional transformation. So and the guide, I explain to people, why individual is important, why is community important, why is policy important, why is systems important, institutions important. So it's everyone gets involved. So we are really doing a complete infrastructure upgrade of human engineered systems. Because human engineered systems are all oriented in the wrong direction. So you have to turn them around, all of them.
Yeah.
So this is why it's a full spectrum thing. And I'm sure, once enough people come along, everybody will come along because it just makes sense. The other side that wants to go to Mars, they're talking about nuclear war now. It's gone too far, right? Nuclear war among previously allied people. What is this?
Yeah.
So it's just bringing them back from the brink, saying, stop this nonsense. You don't have to go there. There is plenty for all of us, and we have another way of doing things.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm furiously writing. I'm hoping to finish it by. I mean, I have a deadline. I have to finish it by March 25th anyway, because I have to present it at the Oxford Literary Festival.
Yeah. So we have to clean up what we did before. All our past things. We have to just put that as a major effort.
Well, it's a little bit like, that what we did before was for the purpose of acquiring the strength.
Yeah.
And we have acquired that. So we have accomplished that objective. And now we have to reverse it so that we can cool it instead of heat it. Right? You have to cool it a little bit and then maintain it.
So we don't have to blame people for what happened.
No.
Because there was a reason for it. Yeah. So that's very important, I think, to get that image to the people that there is a cause for everything which happened. There was a reason for it. Why whoever designed it.
Right. I mean, all the technologies we built was to acquire more and more power for ourselves, to the point where we are literally, able to change the life support systems of our planet.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and now once you can change it, well, change it for the better, not keep changing it for the worse. Because Sorry.
Be very interesting that we can change our planet. Maybe the only planet in the universe. I don't know. Who knows? So that's very
Definitely in our neighborhood, in our galactic neighborhood, this is the only one we know of
yes.
that can harbor life. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see what happened with Venus and Mars. So
Right.
good examples of that things went wrong.
Well, it's not they went wrong. They probably didn't even harbor life in the first place, right? So we don't know.
Right. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure. Ray?
Just further to my previous comments about Project Drawdown, I saw one of my background graphics was from their analysis of their 100 different solutions. When you collect them into sectors, the food categories eclipse all the energy categories.
Right.
Really, it's huge. The three different scenarios: an aggressive scenario, a baseline scenario, and I just wanted to mention that because this graphic is no longer on their website. So I have lots of. I love how they've exposed these problems, but I got a pretty strong idea of why this graphic no longer exists on their website. The silos were complaining that it was unfair that so much attention was being put on food. How are we supposed to do our solutions when everybody's talking about food? Blah, blah, blah. And you know what? You're empowering the vegans. You have to stop. Get rid of that graphic. But I rescued it. I took it. I managed to keep it, and I use it as a background from time to time. And hopefully we can challenge Drawdown to strengthen their messaging once again.
Besides, they're talking about just CO2 emissions. Okay? So they're only talking about the fourth planetary boundary transgression.
Yeah, it's in itself a silo. We're talking about drawdown of carbon, so we don't have to talk about the other stuff. But I think they will. I think that they.
So, but the other 6 planetary boundary transgressions, we absolutely know, and no one is disputing, that the food system is the leading cause.
Jonathan Foley has a couple of TED Talks where you get it. You can tell he gets it. And he's not just talking about, he will stray into biodiversity and the other problems with animal agriculture. And he's leading Project Drawdown now, even though it was something that Paul Hawkins started. And I think Paul Hawkins gets it as well. They just have a platform that can be yanked as soon as they stray from the status quo of look what's acceptable, the Overton window of what environmentalists are allowed to talk about. You complain about what the Overton window of what you can get on mainstream media. Even the environmental community has their Overton window of what's possible to talk about.
Yeah. Well, we have to burst through all those windows and say you have to look for a solution. Everything has to be on the table. You look for a solution. Otherwise, don't tell me it's an emergency. It is an emergency. You're telling us it's an emergency. Then we have to put everything on the table and address how do you solve it.
I was sitting in front of one of the smaller demographics here, or the smaller calculations. The women and girls is a fascinating one because they're measuring the impact of population growth, really, because the more empowered women are, the less likely they're to have children in developing nations where most of the population growth happens. And getting education for girls, which still today is a prospect that needs to be changed. You'd think it would be one that we've solved globally, but think of how the vegan movement is empowered by women, and the idea of nurturing rather than conquering and tribalism and the otherism that puts us to arms rather than to collective solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Vegan movement.
Thank you for this podcast. I think it's something that not only everybody should watch, but it should be studied. I think it's referencing your book, which by all means people should read. but not everybody wants to read. So the podcast is an opening for everybody's enlightenment and help them determine how then shall we live. But it's also an opportunity to have study groups. Like, why wouldn't you break down these chapters, and you can do that without a book club.
I welcome that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Toby.
Again, I was wondering if you've heard of called Viva Longevity, which are a YouTube channel. It's run by a guy called Chris. I don't know his last name, but it was chatting with sorry, just a minute, my phone's very slow. He was chatting with a guy called where's he gone? Walton Willett. And they're both environmentalists, and also focused on nutrition as well. But I was wondering if you'd reach out to Viva Longevity to get on an episode with Chris, because he's got a lot of followers, and he's really, we talk about the exact same stuff, and he's a very interesting chap. And when I've tried to ask people if we can get you on the show, they never reply. But he's someone who would probably respond, and he's I think it's a really good conversation anyway.
Yeah, I would love to get on anyone's podcast.
Yeah,
so,
no, he's a really friendly chap. So
yeah,
I don't know if he'll respond to I never get emails back when I send them, but maybe someone who's better at it than me. I'll give a message.
Someone will respond, You keep at it. Someone will respond. So thank you.
Yeah, that was it really, but yeah, thanks.
It's Chris McCaskill, and he's actually an engineer too. So I think I have been trying to connect with him for years and try to get him connected to Sailesh.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
How do I get off here?
Okay, Deepak.
Yeah, so I'm back again, but this question about upstream versus downstream change, upstream being grassroots and downstream being like policy level change. So my question is, does downstream change means keeping planet A in power, like all these campaigns with Marriott, like battery cage-free chickens.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so it's where do you put your efforts into, right? And I believe that once people see that we need a planet B, they have to be convinced that we need a planet B. We need a complete transformation. And once you see that, then you will spend less and less time trying to change policies on planet A. Because you're just doing, you'll get a Jevons paradox there. It's like, oh, I made the hens have a little bit extra space. So now I can eat a lot more chickens because they're all treated well, right? So this mindset of some welfareism, some efficiency improvement leads to greater consumption of the same. That's the Jevons paradox.
Yeah, it's the same with grass-fed beef, right? Like it's
right.
Like eventually they will still go for the slaughter, but the climate gets even worse because they're getting more space and everything.
Correct. And the same with also even cellular meat. They're saying cellular meat is a way to tell people subliminally, don't worry about your consumption. There is a technical fix for it. So carry on. So they're all waiting for the technical fix and they're carrying on. They don't even think about it now, right? Because they know the industry is working on a technical fix for the problem. And that, of course, is going to, it'll never scale to, it'll never scale to a point it's viable. Why? Because you're trying to get machines to do what nature does. Nature does a really good job of creating an immune system, a circulatory system, excretory system, and so on in an animal. Now you have to get a machine to do that to cells that are, and it's not very efficient, okay, and it's difficult to scale. There are lots of issues, the technical issues for that. Anyway, and it also sends a message to the people. Animal protein is very, very special. Animal food is very, very special. That's why you cannot give it up, and we'll find a way to give it to you through technology. So don't think about it. So whereas we are asking much more fundamental questions. We're asking, is it really special? No, it's not. It's actually bad for you. So we're asking such questions, right? Going deep and then saying you don't need the system. So the system always finds a way to make surface level changes and maintain itself.
Yeah,
So,
the thermostat kind of.
Yeah. Surface level changes. This is why colonialism is still going on, slavery is still going on, because it's all surface level changes made. Because we didn't change the system and we tried to change that.
Yeah, I think all these system of oppression, the SCRAP acronym, you once said, right? So they kind of feed into each other. So we either all go or no one goes.
Correct. It's all or nothing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Rao. Thank you, participants. Thank you, climate healers, and Dr. Rao. Thank you so much. Participants, I've been so stimulated by this conversation, but we do have to close the meeting. We have a meeting right after this. And please save the chat and come back again, because this is very exciting.
Thank you.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. Phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air. Every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire. Put out the fire. Metafoodians unite. This is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapsy, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise. This is your hour. Metafoodians unite. Metafoodians ignite. Sharing love in the meta zone. Lighting the path to a cooler home. Put out the fire. Ooh, put out the fire. Together we rise. Together we inspire.